Dave Isaac's on the Boardwalk Honda hotline with the Flyers. It might be snowing out there, Dave, but this is a pretty important one. I don't know how many people are going to be able to get out there to watch it. They're going to play, right?
Oh, they're definitely going to play. And as I look out the window here, it looks like it just stopped a few minutes ago in Center City, Philly. So, yeah, like you said, not sure how many people will be there to see it, but could be a playoff preview tonight.
No doubt. Very important stretch of games for Philly. First, let's do some housekeeping on Wayne Simmonds. He said he's going to play tonight. Is that the understanding you have as well?
Yep, he will return to the lineup after missing the last 7 games. He's going back to a line that was put together around this time last year that had some success with Jordan Wheel in the left wing, Simmonds, of course, on the right, and Valtteri Filppula in the middle. So as much as the Flyers need some secondary scoring from Simmonds, I think this is a little bit about getting Jordan Wheel going as well. He's been one of the rare underperformers on this team this year, so I think they're trying to get some magic there.
Lindblom, does that mean he's going to be sticking around?
Yep, yeah, he's going to be on that second line with Nolan Patrick and Jake Voracek, and that's been the case, I think, every game since Simmonds came out of the lineup. And although Lindblom doesn't have a point, or at least not a goal yet, he's been doing a lot of the right things and certainly enough to keep his spot here. Post-trade deadline, it doesn't matter how many guys you have on the roster as long as you can stay under the cap. And the Flyers aren't the same team they were 3 years ago when they were living penny by penny every day. They can certainly afford Oscar Lindblom's entry-level deal. He'll stay for the rest of the way here.
All right, Flyers and Pens tonight on 97.3 ESPN. We assume it's going to be Mrazek in goal?
Yep, Petr Mrazek will go his 7th in a row for the Flyers, and he'll be facing Tristan Jarry for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Matt Murray's still out with a concussion.
You also have, I guess, Johnny Oduya is out.
Yeah, but the Flyers get Andrew McDonald back in the lineup tonight, and I think this would be their normal 6 anyway, with all of those guys healthy. And Oduya did practice this morning, but I think they would have intended to keep him out of the lineup anyway.
So bringing him in, he wasn't going to be put into the 6?
No, I think he was just kind of an extra piece, a good insurance piece of the puzzle in the locker room. And I think the most important thing for him every day is to walk into that locker room wearing his 2 Stanley Cup rings and have everybody else kind of catch the glimmer off of the light off that piece of jewelry and see what the Flyers could do if they play well enough in these next several months. Dave
Isaac, Courier Post, at Dave G. Isaac. Flyers and Penguins tonight. We know this is an important one, but kind of, take a look at this schedule coming up. Are you concerned that a slide could be coming following those 2 games in Florida and what they have coming up here?
Well, certainly there is a little bit of a shift recently in terms of quality of opponent and who the Flyers are playing. I mean, you expect them to beat even the Rangers at Madison Square Garden. That's been a tall task for them in the last several years. But the Rangers basically wove a white flag before the trade deadline, says everybody that's not Henrik Lundqvist is available for a trade, and they pretty much did. They sold everything, or almost everything, and the Flyers took care of business there. The same thing with the Ottawa Senators, another team who said they were in cellar mode, and they were. The Flyers took care of them as well. So those 2 Florida teams are both in playoff spots right now, I believe. Actually, the Panthers just dropped out of a spot last night. Columbus got in over them, but 2 teams that I would expect would be in the playoffs at the end of the season here. Tampa certainly one of the beasts of the East, and the quality of opponent gets a little bit tougher here. The next 5 opponents for the Flyers are all in playoff spots.
Yeah, and the Florida Panthers have been the best team in the league since January the 13th, I think it is. And you look at how well they've been playing. The Flyers, who were playing really well. What is something the other day we were talking about it, and when Pete was on, he said he thought the Flyers have been getting exposed a little bit, on the defensive side and in front of the net, that they gave up 6, or what was it, 7, I guess, 6, and then, the overtime. But he thought the back end was getting exposed a little bit, and a lot of stretch passes. He thought that they were having some problems with that.
Yeah, that's the way that the Lightning kind of play, and the Panthers, like you mentioned, have been playing well recently, and that's something that they're good at as well. In terms of the defense being exposed, I would agree, but I would also say that I don't think that's anything really new. I think the Flyers have a really good top pair in Ivan Provorov and Shane Gostisbehere, and leaves a lot to be desired after that. I mean, you have Andrew McDonald and Robert Haig on that second pair there, and they're both okay, but they're kind of just waiting in the water. They're not going to make too many high-risk plays like you have seen from the third pair, Brandon Manning and Radko Gudas, and they've been certainly burned on it when they've made those mistakes. But Haig and McDonald just don't have a lot of flashy offense to their game, so they're just kind of there to be two stay-at-home guys almost, and you would expect that those guys would get beaten from time to time, and as I mentioned, Manning and Gudas, they've just been too risky, and that's part of why I would have expected Oduya to maybe play a little bit and try and eliminate some of that risk. But as you saw in that Florida game, he was really rusty, didn't have certainly a good go on that Barkov goal. And obviously the Flyers don't really plan on using him. At least Dave Haxtell doesn't as of right now, if everybody's healthy. So it looks right now, and Dave Haxtell's kind of coached this way all season long, where he kind of gets a little bit stubborn. And if something is a weakness, it's going to have to work itself out, because it doesn't look like he plans on doing anything about it anytime soon.
Dave Isaac's on the Boardwalk Honda hotline. Getting Simmonds back, what does he kind of add? You tweeted out they've scored 13 5-on-5 goals since he's been out, but only one has come from the bottom six pairings. So adding him, who I guess he's kind of had a quiet year this year. Last year he seemingly was, the maybe the first guy you thought of when you thought of this Flyers team, but he doesn't seem like he's jumping off the page nearly as much. Under the radar year.
A little bit, and part of that last year, too, was thinking about him first was kind of an indictment on Claude Giroux, right, because he wasn't having his best season, in fact, one of his worst. And now that Giroux's back playing like himself, and if he gets hot here, he could finish with his best year yet. And you've got Sean Couturier playing very well, Travis Konechny also. So he has kind of gone under the radar in that sense. Simmonds has to pick it up a little bit. He could still get a 20 or a 30 goal season, which it seems like he does year after year. He had a really hot start of the year in terms of having that scoring touch. But what I think he brings more than anything else is a level of physicality, especially in front of the opposing net. Nolan Patrick did very well in replacing him on the power play, had 3 power play goals in that 7 games. Lindblom, like I said, has been playing pretty well. He's another guy that gets to that slot area right in front of the opposing goaltender. So Simmonds certainly needs to bring that element to another line, but he also brings a leadership quality. You see that A on his jersey. He's one of the alternate captains and probably the biggest voice in the room. Giroux's one of the guys that kind of leads with his play instead of his mouth.
All right, Dave Isaac, the Flyers tonight taking on the Pittsburgh Penguins, a playoff preview. The possibility of these two teams meeting in the playoffs, that appears to be one of the, well, I guess one of these teams could finish in first, which would eliminate them from playing each other. But right now, this is what you would get in the playoffs. So, do you like the way the Flyers would match up with the Penguins? It seems like this could be the most, potentially the highest percentage of matchup in the first round.
Yeah, as of right now, but everything's so tight. Again, that could change even after this game tonight. I think there's only 2 points between the Flyers and first-place Capitals, the Flyers being in third right now. So I guess if the Flyers win in overtime or a shootout, there's a 3-way tie. So it's still a little bit too early to go judging first-round matchups. Now, if you're a reporter and you're looking for a nice travel schedule, you want the Flyers to get in first place and Florida to go up there to that top wild card, and then all of a sudden you're going to South Florida twice a week.
That sounds good, man. And Dave Isaac will be on the beat at Dave G. Isaac on Twitter. Read his preview of tonight's Flyers and Penguins and what to watch in Game 67 of 82 tonight on 97.3 ESPN. A late night at the Wells Fargo Center. It's an 8 o'clock puck drop for a rivalry night. Dave, you the man. Take care, pal.
All right. Thanks for having me, Mike.